Time now for our rants and raves of the week, starting with Dan.
I have a rave for the Washington Post and for its executive editor, Marty Baron, who have kept the heat on for the past year and a half to bring home their reporter, Jason Rezaian, who was held by the Iranian authorities on unspecified charges and finally is home. I believe that
Can't wait to hear from him.
Absolutely.
You know, Washington Post is going to have the definitive story
Oh,
there.
absolutely.
I don't know who's going to write it. I don't think it's going to be Jason, but
no, well, you know, they did a
it.
great job. And you know, when your employer does that, this is just good for morale.
Definitely.
It's good for everybody moving in the same
Marty
direction.
was all over that.
I remember a few years ago when the late Anthony Shadid was working for the Globe, when Marty Baron was editor of the Globe. Shadid actually was shot and injured in the West Bank, and Baron was on the first plane over there. And you know, this is how you exercise leadership.
Definitely.
And great job.
Josh.
20 years ago today, somewhere in Midtown Manhattan, someone clicked a button and the New York Times debuted on the internet.
Is that a rant or a rave?
This is a rave. Today is the 20th anniversary of the New York Times having a website. The first great American newspaper to really decide to invest in the web. They've done a lot of good things and bad things. We have some examples of what it used to look like. That's what it looked like on AOL before the launch. Really beautiful.
Cool retro.
Yeah, exactly. They announced it in the newspaper that day, of course, because of course that's where they were going to announce it in 1996. Their new on-line service. The New York Times introduces a website. Readership in cyberspace. You know, the Times has gone through a lot in the last 20 years, positive and negative, but nonetheless, the New York Times is one of the very few American newspapers that for whom the change to the digital, to the internet, is a huge opportunity to reach many millions of people who they couldn't reach before. They still have a great newsroom, have enormously talented people working on all their digital products, and I think congratulations for 20 years.
All right, Kelly.
I have a rave for covers of both a magazine and a newspaper. So the first is for Time magazine. They are talking about the poisoning of an American city and the crisis, the water crisis. Look at that, in Flint, Michigan. This was shot by Detroit Free Press photographer Regina Burns, a photo of a 2-year-old child whose mother, of course, was bathing her child in the water she did not know was poison, and so he's exhibiting the skin rashes. Of course, inside they'll have the detail of the story. It's a reminder about the power of photographs, and also Regina Burns spends some time talking about how she came to get the photo and the relationship she built with the mother to get the details of this. Also, shout out to the New York Post. Boy, they are the headline writers. Just love this. This weekend will be whiter than the Oscars, talking about the snowstorm that hit New York City. They're always clever. It's just a reminder that as we've been talking ad nauseum here on this conversation about online and social media content, that there is still power in print, and certainly these are journalists putting together the best way to really get people into a story, and it should just be acknowledged.
Was it in the last week that they had the picture of the Statue of Liberty giving Ted Cruz the finger?
That was the
That was the New York Daily News.
Daily
Yeah,
News. Oh, I'm sorry.
They've taken off, and they've been doing more provocative stuff.
Yeah.
That was
Yes,
pretty good,
yes.
new leadership
They had
there.
Brady in a diaper, though, right?
Yeah, right.
Cry,
They did.
cry Brady.
They did.
Yeah.
All right, Adam.
Yeah.
All right, I want to rant about the local media, the Boston media's complicity in this weather-related hysteria that has taken root here in Boston. So there's a huge storm that's going to hit D.C. starting this weekend, and it's a big story, and D.C. is probably going to be in really bad shape. But about a week ago, when we got intimations that this storm was heading in our direction and might bring, maybe up to 6 inches of snow to the Boston area, which it's not going to, everyone freaked out, and there was this panting eagerness to, oh my, here comes a big one. It's just like last year. This is what happened a year ago, same time. We lost I was going to use a word I can't use on air. We got way carried away, and we were luxuriating in the panic. Also, I think this is of a piece with, we live in New England. It gets cold here, sometimes it snows. But if it snows 2 or 3 inches, we call it a storm. If it is in the 20s, you turn on the radio, you turn on TV, you pick up a paper, and you hear about frigid temperatures.
That's because that bogus wind chill thing.
It is. Well, it might or might not be because of wind chill.
It is
but we
bogus.
need to
Oh,
regain
come
a
on.
sense of perspective. We don't live in Florida.
Right.
We don't live in Virginia.
Let me just
we
say
live in
this.
Massachusetts. Tone it
When the American and the European models align, and they did,
Sure.
there is reason to have some panic.
I take both models
That's all I
seriously.
say.
We were talking about,
all I'm saying.
about 6 inches. That's not the storm
I
of the
want to have.
century.
I'm going to end this tonight
Oh,
with a
sorry.
Raves for my friend and former one-time colleague Martha Raddatz, who has now officially been named co-host of This Week. Let's hope they're not going to call it This Week with George Stephanopoulos. But in case people haven't noticed, Martha's been doing every other week
Yes.
as the
Yes,
host
that's
since
right.
2014.
I didn't realize
Yeah, so now they're making it official. I think they started to notice that, guess what, the ratings didn't change when Martha hosted it versus when George
Are they kicking him
Stephanopoulos
off? That would
No,
be the good news.
so now they're rotating
Great news.
every other week. She does it one week, he does it the next, and it's going to be called This Week, I hope. I hope they don't call it This Week with George. That would really talk about sexism. Let's hope they don't do that.
She's been great in the debates.
She's
I was going to
fantastic.
say,
Hell of
that
a lot
was,
better
that
than
was,
David Muir.
oh my God.
All right, that is it for our show. Tell us what you think. Email us, tweet us, or leave a comment. We're always on at beatthepress.org.